It's finally happening. I'm going to tell you why everybody hates one of the year's most controversial films. And if you've been following award season, you already know what I'm talking about. Today, we're going to chat about Emilia Perez. I'm Real Slim Katie. Let's get into it. So if you've watched any red carpet interviews or movie reviewers on TikTok, Instagram, a lot of people are quiet about this movie because they follow the sentiment, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. But I have a lot of things to say. And I hate that nobody will say why they don't like this movie. And I'm more than willing to say why I don't like this movie. In one sentence, Emilia Perez is about a mafia boss who uses her transition as a way to get away from the mafia, regardless of who she hurts in the process. Fuck, this can't be just one sentence. And she enlists the help of a lawyer to help her disappear, including her wife and children, and then decides that she wants her life back all of a sudden, and throws everybody else into shambles, and uses money and power to manipulate those around her, and ultimately gets karma'd, bitch. The thing that pisses me off most is people can't tell you what genre Emilia Perez is. And there's some movies that do this really well. In fact, one of my favorite genres I love to tell people is I love a movie that blends genres and feels to create its own feelings. But this movie does none of it successfully. Half of it feels like it's trying to be a crime thriller, half of it feels like it's trying to be a musical, half of it feels like it's trying to be like a telenovela, and none of it works. Because frankly, it doesn't commit to any of those styles intentionally. Like, yes, there is music throughout. Yes, there is tension throughout. But none of it feels like it was written together. It kind of feels like we had these dice as a kid, and they would help you like come up with a story. So it would give you like a genre, like a setting and a thing, and then you'd have to make a story or something based off of that. It feels like they did that with this movie. And it tries to tackle a lot. It tries to tackle the morality and ethics of law and crime. It tries to be a trans story. It tries to be a mafia story. It tries to be a love story, ? And it just doesn't work for me. One of my biggest problems with this movie, and I think why people are so afraid to talk bad about it, is because it is a movie that does so much and uplifts so many actors of color and tells a trans story. But this movie isn't necessarily about being trans or being Mexican. The movie is just kind of about a shitty person. It doesn't feel like it does positive things for either of those minority groups. And I'm sorry, it's not a trans story. It's a story about a mafia owner, mafia leader, mafia boss. Like, she is trans, and that is part of the story. And therefore, it is a trans story, right? It's a story about a trans woman, but the story is not about her being trans. In fact, it uses her public transition as a way to escape from her mafia life, further supporting that the movie is more about her connections with the mafia and whether ethically and morally those things that you do to other people, can they ever leave you or do they stay with you for the rest of your life? Can repenting and doing good things for the world erase the bad things that you've done, or will they always follow you? The one thing regarding transness in this movie that I take a big issue with actually has to do with Jessie. I understand that Menendez, aka Emilia Perez, transitions physically at the beginning of the movie. And it features that horrible song that's viral on TikTok. It's very nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operations. I see. But you're telling me you are in love with somebody. You are married to somebody. You have 2 children with somebody. And all it takes is a little FFS to not recognize them at all? This plot point of the movie I don't follow. Because Emilia invites Jessie and the kids to come back to Mexico City and live with her, but poses as long-lost aunt. And Jessie doesn't recognize her? I know a lot of people who have had FFS. And for a lot of people, that makes them feel amazing. But it doesn't make them unrecognizable. Like, yes, she has long hair, and yes, she has boobs. But if my partner, right now, grew out hair, pair of boobs, and had a little FFS, there's no way I wouldn't recognize him. This is the part of the movie that pisses me off the most. I don't even take huge issue with the music, which ultimately just lacks anything exciting enough to be memorable. In fact, dare I say there are a couple of songs that are good in this movie, aka Mi Camino or El Mal, but nothing life-changing. And it's not structured like a musical. Not that all musicals need to have the same structure or anything. It just feels like a movie that they're like, and it should have songs. And I know there's plenty of movies that try to get me to root for morally gray characters. But I think Emilia kind of sucks. She has a sense of entitlement to her children and wife that she ultimately discarded. This whole movie could have just been washed away if when she wanted to get out of the mafia, she was like, hey, I want to leave and disappear off the face of this earth. Also, I'm trans. I'd love you to join me and live the rest of my life together with us, somewhere in secret and private where we can enjoy and live our family together. And at the end of the movie, the way that Jesse talks about her, like, it feels like there's still love there, and maybe she could have followed. And I understand transness is taken differently culturally, but she wouldn't have known unless she just asked. And then Emilia has this sense of entitlement to just bring them all the way back across the world because she has decided that she's finally ready to have them back in her life. And I don't believe anybody's entitled to live life like that. And Zoe Saldana as Rita is fantastic, but I mean, I'm not super big fan of her either. It's not even that I take issue with her committing crime to get ahead in life and prioritize her own success and welfare. I think the part that I don't respect is that she's willing to let herself get tossed around at other people's whims, and that she's unwilling to make choices for herself. And I understand that the way she chooses to represent the case at the beginning of the movie helps get her noticed by Manitas, and ultimately she helps to create the organization to help find missing people. But that brings back to the question is that enough? Do your actions cancel themselves out? I don't know. And I do think the movie raises that interesting point. I enjoyed myself while watching the movie. I liked the pacing. I thought it was very bizarre and interesting. And I know a lot of people have talked about the dialogue, and I'm obviously not a native Spanish speaker, so I can't really speak to how that feels. But I thought it was worth bringing up that that's a common criticism. I thought the performances were great. And I just saw a red carpet interview where Carla Sofia Gascon said her 4 favorite movies were Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, and more Star Wars. And like, that made me so happy. It was a great ensemble of people, but I don't think that can save a bad script. And the one thing that pisses me off more than anything in this movie, and ultimately if it had ended differently, maybe I would have left liking this movie. But you're telling me, after all this, you're just gonna have them die in a car fire. I'm not saying I could come up with something better, but it just feels like incredibly lazy writing to me. In fact, seeing the two of them finally confront each other after all this time might be the only super interesting scene that could have happened in this movie. But they killed them both off out of an abundance of convenience. Maybe I misunderstand it. I think the more interesting story would have been to see what happens next. That would have been a way more interesting ending. Whether they don't work out and Emilia just has to face the consequences of her own actions, or they do, and ultimately the love is all they needed to finally escape from the lives and the shackles they'd forged in their own life. But no, they died in a car fire. Fucking stupid. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this movie. Honestly, tonally, it feels like the kind of thing I would love. I love genre benders. I love musicals. I love crime thrillers. But to me, it just felt like it was trying to be so many things and just didn't pick and just didn't come in. Let me know what you guys thought. I'm super interested to hear what you guys think. And if you like this video, me and my best friend Louie make videos like this all the time, so feel free to subscribe and check us out. Anyways, I'm gonna go try to watch some TikTok and clean this out of my head. See you later. Bye!